إله إلا الله.
So what is it that we are to do as Muslims? The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, وعن أبي عبد الرحمن عبد الله بن عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله عنهما قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول انطلق ثلاثة نفر مما كان قبلكم حتى آواهم المبيت إلى غار فدخلوه فانحدرت صخرة من الجبل فسدت عليهم الغار. 3 men were traveling once and the night overtook them, so they had to seek shelter into a cave. While they were in that cave, a big boulder dropped and covered that entrance. They were stuck in the cave. So as Shaykh Abdul Razak al-Badr Hafidullah says, by tawfiq from Allah, by a guidance from Allah, they knew to do this. They said, فَقَالُوا إِنَّهُ لَا يُنْجِيكُم مِّنْ هَذِهِ الصَّخْرَةِ إِلَّا أَن تَدْعُوا اللَّهَ بِصَالِحِ أَعْمَالِكُمْ. Nothing will save you from this boulder. Nothing will move this boulder except that you call upon Allah by the most righteous of your actions. Call to Allah and use the most righteous of your actions. And this is one of the rare cases in Islam where a tawassul is accepted and is permissible. Call on to Allah with what? Your righteous actions. Not get a excavator or go get more manpower or we need more money. Call on to Allah with your righteous actions. So the first of them, he started talking to Allah about birrul walidain. Oh Allah, I was obedient to my parents and I did 1, 2, and 3. And then he said, Allahumma in kuntu fa'altu dhalika bitiga'a wajhik fafarrij anna ma nahnu fihi min hadhihi as-sakhra. Oh Allah, if I did that for your sake, for the sake of your face alone, then save us and relieve us from this boulder that is locking us in. What does birrul walidain have to do with moving a boulder? What does birrul walidain, being obedient and dutiful to your parents, have to do with freeing Palestine? So, فَانْفَرَجَتْ شَيْئًا لَا يَسْتَطِيعُونَ الْخُرُوجَ مِنْهُ. The boulder then it moved. Because he did a deed, he did it sincerely for the sake of Allah, and then he made dua to Allah by that deed. And that boulder it moved, but it moved slightly. It didn't move altogether, just slightly. So the actions that me and you do, there's some benefit in them, believe me. You are helping and aiding and supporting the situation that is happening thousands of miles away by your righteous deeds that are sincere for the sake of Allah, and by your dua. You are changing that situation. Maybe not altogether, but like that boulder, it moved slightly. The second man, he talked about his refraining from zina. Are we able to lower our gaze, to put the phones down, to stop talking with the opposite gender for the sake of Palestine, for the sake of freeing those children? So he talked to Allah about refraining from zina. What does refraining from zina have to do with moving a boulder? What does refraining from zina have to do with freeing Palestine? He said the same dua. Allahumma in kuntu fa'altu dhalika bitiga'a wajhik fafruj anna ma nahnu fi. Relieve us from what we are in if I did that for your sake. فانفرجت الصخرة غير أنهم لا يستطيعون الخروج منها. So the boulder it moved again, but they still couldn't exit from it. The third man, he said, he called to Allah by his fair business transactions, that he dealt with his employees in a way that he would like to be dealt with. He invested his wealth for him and multiplied it for him and didn't wrong or oppress him with his wealth. And he said the same dua, Allahumma in kuntu fa'altu dhalika bitiga'a wajhik fafruj anna ma nahnu fi. If I did that for your sake, Ya Allah, then save us from this condition that we are in. فانفرجت الصخرة فخرجوا يمشون. Then that boulder was removed and they all walked out of there. So it is upon us to do righteous deeds. As Allah promised us, if you do good deeds, لَيَسْتَخْلِفَنَّكُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ. He's going to make you victorious and give you authority in this land. And you do them sincerely for the sake of Allah. That man didn't just claim to do birrul walidain. He stood there in the night holding a bowl of milk until Salatul Fajr, while his children were crying from how hungry they were. And he ignored his own children for the sake of his parents, not liking to feed his children before he feeds his parents, even though he had enough for both. Sincere for the sake of Allah. The man stayed away from zina, from the woman who he loved more than any man could love a woman. And he stayed away from her out of his fear from Allah. That's ikhlas. He didn't just pay that man back his money, but he invested it and multiplied it for him and then gave it back to him. For what? For the sake of Allah. You do deeds sincerely for Allah Jalla fi'ala. It is then when Allah, you will see the result that He changes our condition. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah is not going to change the condition of a people until they change the condition of themselves. Until they change the condition of themselves.